There is no garbage bin in our kitchen. In fact, there's no rubbish or recycling bins anywhere inside this house. And I haven't had to take out the trash, well, not the way you're thinking of it, in 4 years. Huh. Taking out the trash is just one of those things that everyone just seems to accept. Ugh, the overflowing bin. The bag that splits. The smell. Whose turn is it?
Hey!
The whole chory shuffle of it. And in a small space like this, a kitchen bin just eats up room that you cannot spare.
Hello there.
So when we built this house, we decided to get rid of the bins entirely. And we did this instead. I mean, in a way, it's kind of a funny one to demonstrate because there's probably the simplest thing you could ever do is throwing something into a garbage bin. But the simplicity is the beauty of it. So you can see that from kitchen level, the item enters the chute and goes down into its respective bin. So even to this day, it is actually quite remarkably satisfying if you want to just chuck something down the bin. Boom, gone. So the doors themselves are very simple. They're meant to fit in with the aesthetic of the kitchen, just very, very simple and nondescript. So we also fitted the doors with this little rubber seal here, as we thought there would be some smells, but there wasn't any smells. However, there is a little bit of a draft that comes through here, so it does help with that. And it also makes it so it closes nice and quiet. So as you'd expect, there are some considerations and exceptions and best practices, I guess you could call them, for using this type of chute system. So just like you can't get a whole grapefruit down your throat in one go, if it's too big, it's not going to go down the hole. So something large like this, we just go outside and put it in the bin directly. Things like boxes have a tendency to want to get jammed up as they fall down, so obviously we just try to take them apart. Things like jars are fine, of course, to go down, but they can sound a little bit aggressive as they fall down. Perhaps on other bottles or glass, you can sound like the back of a pub. So if upstairs' cute little hatches are the theatrical performance, this is definitely the backstage, behind the curtain. Stuff that isn't my most glamorous part of this whole process. So this is an exercise in practicality over aesthetics. As you can see, we've got these aircon vent things that I found on the side of the road. And I found these little cuff pieces. So that ended up being sort of crudely attached to a singular lid. As you can see, the actual bin still has its lid, but this is just the functional lid that attaches to the system. So the problem I faced was, how do I attach these panels to the bin? I still want to make the bin removable because I need to actually be able to get the bin out when it's time to change it and take it to the curbside. But I needed something that was kind of sanitary in the sense that it wouldn't be a gap where things would fall out or rodents be able to get in or anything like that. So this was the the final magical decision, as you can see here. So all this is a big wide piece of rubber that wraps all the way around, creates a bridge, a bit of a cuff between these two pieces, and is secured in place with this sexy belt. Before we ask the question of whether this would work in your home, why don't we have a quick look at the build process that led us to this point. All I knew when I started this part of the project was that I wanted to make something that worked with the little aircon chutes that I'd already bought, and it was going to be functional and aesthetically pleasing in the kitchen. So I just started cutting. So our kitchen has 2 more holes, as you can see. And yeah, this is the beginning of the process of making the garbage and recycling chutes that I've always wanted to have. And so this is all a bit of an experiment. So because I needed to get the whole kitchen done for the tiler,
I needed to keep working even though I had no idea how the whole thing was going to come together. And even when it was getting to the point where I was actually going to install the vents and the chutes on the house, I still had no idea if the whole thing was going to function the way I hoped.
So on the long-term to-do list is the finishing of this properly. If you were planning on doing something like this yourself, I'm pretty happy with the whole thing up until here. Probably if you could find some sort of elasticized piece of something that was also weatherproof, and then create some sort of skirt, almost like a Christmas tree kind of idea, that is actually made for this shape. And if there was any question as to the DIY status of this project, then obviously the discussion can end right here. Please do not judge me.
Do you really need one of these things? I mean, people have gone without specialized chutes to throw their rubbish down for quite a long time. I'll be perfectly honest, I think this is a great solution for anyone who has a small house, especially where you can centralize your rubbish in one place so that you don't have to have bins everywhere. I still think it can work in a conventional house as well, but probably you would do it in a high traffic area for rubbish like your kitchen. And the great thing in the kitchen is that you can put it at counter level, so you don't have to bend over bins and just wreck your back. Oh! If you do live in a tiny house and you happen to have a composting toilet like the one we have, well, then you can just use it as a bin in your bathroom. Because of course anything organic can just go straight in there. So I can't say that it would eradicate all of your trash elimination needs, but it certainly would streamline it. Overall, I couldn't be happier with my friend, the trash chute. You see, it's really ticked those boxes in terms of all those things that you don't like about rubbish. The dirty rubbish bins, when you open up the bin or the face of it's all dirty with coffee stains and whatever other crap you've got on it. Just the overflowing bin. As soon as you open it up, you're like, oh, it's full. And then you have to swap it, and whose turn is it? And, that's the whole process of taking lids off or taking it out of the cupboard and, filling up the bag, putting a new bag in, taking that other bag, bringing it to the bin, and then having to regularly bring those bins out to the curbside. We don't have that problem. From a time-saving point of view, I reckon you can get 12 of these kind of standard garbage bags into a 240-liter wheelie bin, standard wheelie bin. I reckon you'd probably save an hour per wheelie bin of your life not having to deal with trash. So in terms of it being ideal for everybody's situation, I'd say that there would be one caveat in terms of how messy your rubbish tends to be. Because I have a plant-based diet. I'm not cutting up, entrails or offcuts of, animal products and so on. So I don't know if I'd want that just sitting down there in the bin, wafting up the chute every time I open the door. So, or any type of kind of, wet type of hobby you might have with rags or, things like chemicals and so on. Particularly things that might slop on the side of the actual chute itself where you can't get in there and clean it off. So that's probably like an honest take in terms of whether it's appropriate for the way that you live. So half of what makes tiny house living interesting is the little creative solutions, I think. And I think something like this actually does tick that box. It improves our sort of lifestyle, but it also works within a tiny space in terms of not cluttering it up and making the space look as nice and work as well as it possibly can. This kind of thing doesn't have to be very expensive. This whole setup was very inexpensive to put together, and you can probably find similar components if you wanted to do something like this, but of course there's a lot of different ways you could achieve the same result. So I'd love to see what you come up with. If you want to post some pictures or let me know what you've figured out for this type of solution, I'd love to hear it. As usual, please like and subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let me know if there's any other little things that you'd be interested in seeing in our tiny house in terms of solutions we've come up with. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.